Hello and welcome back to another episode of Critical Reactions with your host Bryan. We're going to continue on with this week's theme, exploring some of y'all's favorite live performances. We're going to continue today with M83, looking at a live performance of the track Midnight City that they performed in 2016. Let's dive into this and see what M83 has in store for us today. It's a really interesting contrast in the dynamics of the instruments on this track. Nice harmonies there. That synth line is still going on. Usually it quits out in the quieter sections. Sax? Yeah. Oh, just ends there. Okay, cool. I was a little worried about this track. And admittedly, still, I don't think I have a lot to say about it as far as analysis, but I was a little, I wasn't really working with it. There's some nice contrast, nice dynamics, some cool vocal harmonies, but generally speaking, the song was kind of bouncing off of me right up until that sax part, and then it just became an incredibly fun jam, and I was totally on board with that. So, a nice surprise there at the end. Let's kick it off with the first third of this, though. There's two sections here. There is the synth line that just goes on and on and on and on, and a chord that hovers around behind it. Not a big fan of this idea. I think it kind of has a general bounciness to it, and I think in a much smaller dose it would be a very cool idea. It is and does eventually grow into the more bombastic part of this track. It is those instrumental pieces between the vocal parts. And I think as far as high energy, dancey, there's a nice rhythmic cadence to the drums. The synth part has a little bit of syncopation to it too, so you get some groove out of that. I still think it's a solid idea, just I don't know if it's good enough to use by itself with nothing else really going on alongside it for so much of this track. You know, now that I think about it, there is a bassy idea that's done alongside it too, but it's so quiet. It is so quiet. I think there's a synth that's played at times along. I don't know, man. You may have noticed if you're looking at the volume thing over there that the right channel was a good 15 or 20% louder than the left channel, and I certainly felt that. I don't want to bring that up anymore because I don't want to attribute it too much to the song, and I like to primarily talk about what the music's doing, not necessarily issues or woes with the live performance. But it is something I noticed really early on, and it was rather consistent throughout. I don't think it worked very well. I don't know where the fault lies in that. Maybe that's exactly how it's intended. Maybe if I listen to the studio version, it's like that too, but I don't know. So I'm just gonna leave it at that. Some instruments felt really quiet to me. It felt like there might have been more balance to that main synth lick, but what I heard didn't have that. And I don't think that just the lick itself was all that strong to dedicate 70% of the song to it. The other half of the first third, though, is the quiet section. There is a small synth part here. There is a little bit of bass I can hear peppered in. And then the vocals, which too are a bit quiet, but still loud enough to be heard. The first time through, it's just a single vocalist. The second time through, we had some nice harmonies on it, a little bit of drum work in here. I think it is a very cool contrast to this high energy dance stuff into something more personal, something more introspective. It is this contrast that the entire song is based on. Go from like a medium point to loud to quiet to loud to quiet. Then this takes us to the finale where we build back up to the loud, but this time it's got a saxophone, and this saxophone changes everything. I've brought this up a couple times in the past where I've said something along the lines of the idea is solid, but it really needed some melody. Needed something on top of all of it because it's just too static to be the main course. And I think this is a really good showcasing of that because that synth line with the pretty static chordal stuff behind it, it doesn't do a really good job of supporting the song. During those high impact moments, it just kind of is. But when you put a sax over it, when you put an instrument playing a melody line, it elevates it. It changes everything. Now it is an incredible part of this track. It kind of makes me wonder why so much of the rest of the song doesn't work melodic elements into that peak at all. It doesn't have to be as bombastic as the saxophone here, but there's a keyboardist Just get a typical keyboard or piano sound. Doesn't have to be fancy, and just light. Keep it smaller, keep it softer if you want. Very light melody though. Doesn't need to overpower everything, but can help pull the listener through the song. Because during the softer sections, we have the vocals to do that, but we don't have anything in the big moments up until the sax comes in. And I think it completely redefines and completely readdresses my relationship to this moment, because up until this point, I just wasn't a real big fan of it. Cool contrast, neat idea, just not very strong. But here it's absolutely wonderful. I love the final, like 50, 60 seconds of this track. And it's the exact same thing that bounced off of me earlier with the melody line. It's one simple change, but it really recontextualizes all of it. And the thing is too, is that I think this is supposed to be a bit of a dancey thing going on here. At least the audience seemed to move during these high moments, these high intensity moments. The saxophone absolutely sells the idea that this is supposed to be a party though. I didn't really want to move or groove during the other high impact ones, but once that sax came in and gave us more energy, I couldn't help myself. And I find that to be really interesting. There's definitely going to be a subjective element to this. Some people may listen to this and absolutely love everything pre-saxophone. And just that works for them. It's all they need. It's more minimal, and that is fine by them. Maybe the sax is too much. Maybe the sax just makes it even better. But they were fine with the way it was before. And that's totally valid too. You know, this is just my opinion here, and what I prefer to listen to in music, and where I can find connection with music. And saxophone though, without it, this song just isn't. And maybe that's the point too. Maybe the purpose is to create something that kind of feels full, but something's missing, and then to fill that in later, to give you that sense of completion, fulfillment, to get that last puzzle piece in the puzzle, and it no longer is missing one piece out of 1,000, but is now complete. Missing one piece out of 1,000 isn't bad. It's a pretty big accomplishment, and you're almost done, but something about it feels wrong. You have to finish it. You need to get the larger picture. And that's what the sax feels like. Finally putting that last puzzle piece in. And maybe that's what the song's supposed to be. A feeling of almost complete, and then finally getting that release. Let's check out some lyrics, see what they're singing about. Maybe that'll give us a little bit of insight into their intentions here. Well, there is a sense of anticipation to the lyrics. Verse 1 says, waiting in the car, waiting for a ride in the dark. At night the city grows, look at the horizon glow. So we have this idea of sitting. Sitting is rest, it is wait. Not just sitting, sorry, it's waiting in the car, waiting for a ride. It's this moment of potential energy. Hasn't quite transferred into kinetic. We're not doing things yet, but there is a building want to shift from static to movement to kinetic. It also talks about being in the dark and looking towards the glow. This is expanded upon in the second verse, which starts the same way, about waiting in a car in the dark. But then it says drinking in the lights, following the neon signs, waiting for a word, looking at the milky skyline. The city is my church, it wraps me in its blinding twilight. Generally, this is the idea about excitement. There's light instead of darkness. There's so many things to look at and see. It envelops this person. It says it wraps me in its blinding twilight. And he says that the city is my church. This idea of almost a religious experience, a spiritual one, of being in the city with the lights and the sounds and the bustlingness of it, the nightlife going on here. So then we have the bridge, which is the quiet part again. Waiting in the car, waiting for the ride in the dark, over and over and over and over until it explodes into the sax solo. And I wonder if that isn't what this is supposed to be about. Sitting in anticipation, waiting to get to the point or the place that is what you're excited about. And maybe the synth part that keeps the song high in its contrast against the low, quiet, introspective moments. Maybe that is the anticipation. It's the excitement building up. It's getting closer to the city, seeing the lights on the horizon, but not quite there yet. Starting to feel giddy and, emotionally getting up to that point. Being ready for this. And then finally, when the sax kicks in, we're at the city. That's kind of how I interpret that. And through that lens, I can see why they would save the sax for the ending. Again, it's that feeling of ready, but not ready. I'm ready, but the situation isn't ready. I can't go yet, despite being wound up at 100% ready to go. It's like being packed for everything. You're going on a trip or something. Everything's packed by the door, ready to go. But, you can't leave for 30 minutes or something like that. You got a plane ride to catch, and it's too far away. You can't leave for the airport yet. You'll just be sitting there doing nothing. So you're kind of in this limbo of ready to go, but not gone yet. And that, I think, is what this song is trying to capture until the very end. The sax kicks in and everything is on the same page now. Everything is ready to go. You're where you need to be. The adventure begins now. Everything is great. The anticipation is finally gone and the excitement of beginning has started. Yeah, that works really well. But as usual, these are just my thoughts on M83's Midnight City. What'd you think of it? Did anything stand out to you? Is there anything you'd like to add on to what I said or correct me on? Do you have your own anticipation? Do you have your own perspective or read or anything about this track that maybe I just didn't touch on and you're like, nah, dude, I really get this out of it? Dude, put all of that and anything else you'd like to add into the comments section below. Above that, in the description box, you'll find a link to Linktree. It takes you here. You can find links to my music, ways to support the channel, a link to the Discord server, and so much more. Above that, if you could, like, subscribe, and ring the bell. I greatly appreciate all three of those. That wraps it up for today, but I'll be back tomorrow, 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 10 p.m. UTC as usual. Until next time, remember to be critical, not cynical of the music you listen to, and have a fantastic morning, afternoon, or evening, whenever you choose to watch my videos.